Act 1, Scene 2. Enter Phinneas.
Oh, let me be a witty fool today. A fool without a wit is but a fool, unable to control the thoughts of those the thoughts above have chose to rule. A fool with wit is greater than a king, for kings may question if they're fit to rule. Well, never would a fool do such a thing, for who would question fitness for a fool? And when a king is wanting wisdom's crumb, they tend to proper fools right fast enough.
Enter Rubio.
Phinneas!
A would-be warrior once for crumbs, indeed.
A general only, temporarily.
A lowly general, not a warrior, then. Would men be ranked in danger to the skin? The highest being sure to take a wound, the lowest showing where to place the tomb.
Thou knowest talk of death doth make me ill. Not deathly, yet it brings a chill to think that ill might soon befall the soldiers with whom in full force I may soon forced be to fill the field.
Yet thou didst take this task right fast enough, becoming General Rubio, when
Rubio the innkeep
was more loved.
Was it not thee who warned us of the Queen, who did insist against our king's assurance that his words would bring a tenderness unto her warlike temperament?
The spending of those words I'll not lament, though I admit I'd not envisioned thou wouldst pay a price once they were spent. It's true our master's subtlety with words most humble meant is lacking in ability to bring about the tune of his intent. He plays the flute with force more suited to the trumpet.
Thy way with words is why he did dismiss thee from his company, and he may none too happy be to find thee back again.
Methinks he sees the path to wisdom lies through foolery, else why demote an innkeep to defend our fair community?
Demote? Thou knowest it's a most prestigious post, and I was chose, he told me so, for my admirable management abilities when chaos in the smallest hours rose.
Observed he not this competence thou speak about, when he was once a patron in thy public house?
Presumedly, for that was when we three at first were most in company.
When he did come to drain a barrel with thyself and me?
It's likely that we did consume some ale, or maybe honey mead.
So wouldst thou say that the essential qualities for thy commissioning were gauged by an intoxicated wizard in the thraldom of his revelry?
I would not say so, no.
Yet I would, though. So thou hast been demoted in mine eyes, from one who served the people sweets, my friend, to one who serves them up a bitter end.
Regardless, I am now in charge of many able-bodied men and women, and I must decide, should trouble hear us find, how best to deploy them.
What type of general wouldst thou strive to be within the anal log of history?
Whatever dost thou by thy mean administrations mean?
Wouldst thou be known as Rubio the Kind?
The title would bring sorely needed peace unto my worried mind.
Yet if a fool's unfettered fears are founded, war may be unleashed upon the world, and Rubio the Kind shall ne'er be sounded, whilst shouts of Rubio the Bloody toward the heavens will be hurled.
I would not wish this most atrocious moniker.
Wouldst thou prefer Rubio the Slaughterer?
No. Mayhap I shall be Rubio the Wise, preventer of our Susia's demise.
The wise who is advised and repeatedly outwitted by a fool. I do appreciate all proper ironies, but we must let our greater wisdom rule. The wisest generals find a way to slay their enemies, and are benevolent but only to the side they are aligned, while curses and obscenities the leaders cross the line will find, and be maligned, with titles such as Rubio the Red assigned. O he beneath whose hands the blood doth pool, that monstrous General Rubio, old Rubio the Cruel!
No cruelty does reside within my bones.
Well, Rubio the Wretched, then, a hapless emptier of happy homes, and woeful lover of unwary goats.
Why goats? Thou knowest I am terrified of goats.
The truth of it will matter not.
Old Rubio, the bringer of untimely death, forever haunted by the howls of innocence from whom thy order stole the breath. Enough, dear Phinneas. Thou dost abuse me with this talk of goats and gloom. My task is not to send men into harm, but keep us all from an unlikely doom, maneuvering us brilliantly away from carnage and brutality, with deft decision-making and through most strategic strategy.
Forgive me, gentle Rubio. I fear, alas, that thou hast been miscast. For waging war is not thy way. Thy talents are more suited to a play.
A play?
A recreation of events, as often would commence within the Jolly Horse and Sevenpence, that inn from whence thou came, and once again, if thou wert wise, would hie thyself there hence.
I do enjoy thy fancy games, but we are counsel now unto a king. Should we not find pursuits that to our station are more fitting?
What nobler pursuit is there in life, but bringing truth before an audience, exposing follies of those counted wise, and wisdom that may hide in ignorance? For rulers oft will tout their qualities, proclaiming genius and stability, and just to spite perceived enemies, the masses will believe these fallacies, discarding all their objectivity, while those on the invented other side will settle for a simple remedy, accepting one who tells a few less lies, a slightly better leader in their eyes, in lieu of one might lead them ably. Yet those who are aloof from the charade may see more clearly than those in the know, for they have not abandoned hope for fraud, and still may do their thinking on their own, avoiding the intended rabbit holes.
So passionately said, and nobly. I must relent. What part hast thou for me?
That very king of whom thou speak, and I shall play his fool.
Thou art his fool.
Then I should play him quite convincingly. Now stand thou there as though before thy throne, and I'll position myself here, as though a pillar of perceptiveness which stands against conceit and arrogance alone. Let us enact that moment thou didst witness on thy first foray as general, that led to my portrayal of a fool less favourable.
It was a most dramatic scene. Where should I start?
Begin thy art, reciting that bemusing correspondence to Queen Maghareen, which he did share with us, to garner our opinions. So confided he, as though a man whose mind was not most stubbornly made up.
Then so I shall begin. La la la.
Highly overdramatic, pretending to read.
This latest letter thou hast sent does cause me great concern, as does the courier.
Well, it was a winded and pedantified affair. Skip to the latter part about the courtship and the kinship, for it was there did spark the well-delivered admonishment which I would share.
Of course. Law. As for the question of our courtship, I shall only say, that age has passed, and never had so wondrous time a chance to stay. Those reasons for our parting have not changed. My life I judge by only knowledge gained. Thou art a sister to me now, forever yours in kinship, Spurion.
Then looked our master on, as if to gain our swift applause.
I did applaud, to spur his sureness on. It was a lovely letter.
Hush! Thy mouth should silent be as it was then. Thou playest not thyself, but him.
Forgive.
The mighty and courageous fool did not applaud, but met his rightful ruler's gaze with gallantry less suited to a fool, and more to an equivalently stationed confidant. These are the words thou mean to meet a queen's most royal eyes, a lover thou didst know before we mortals did know time. Thou jest, my lord, said I, and would usurp my place, a jester to replace a fool. Should I now place thy crown upon my brow and rule? Give me thy gaudy signet ring, and we shall make a fool a king. And now your line.
Oh, yes, law. What didst thou find amusing in my well-constructed words?
I find the library has took thee from the world. A lecture will not bring a lady peace, especially in condescending tones which men as thou are sometimes prone to speak. I wish there was a term for this explaining by a man that was appropriate, by which I mean a phrase that is a perfect fit to accurate depict the way a man will sometimes speak to those he thinks are simple, when the simple one is... well, I'm sure it's lost on half of thee. Remember, Lord, this woman is as powerful as thee, an army at her back, and magic strong enough to make her an intimidating enemy.
Hast thou then better words that thou hast learned? Some mortal spell to tell a woman no with sensitivity, so that she feel not spurned?
No better words than thou, my lord. Oh, no, I'd be a fool to think it so. But mayhap better know in what advancing order they might go.
I read to thee the letter that she sent. Thou heard in her own words the threat she meant. If there is some response thou deem more pertinent, enlighten this librarian thou claim to be ineloquent. What wouldst thou say to soothe a woman who, to make an ally, and a lover too, would threaten to unholy war unleash, forsaking near 1,000 years of peace?
I thought he'd never ask. With power and conviction, pretending to brandish a quill and write a letter. Immortal fire of my burning heart, whose touch is flame and tongue is poet's art, it tears a one in two to read thy words. Some women want a man to suffer, and I think she may be one, in recompense for all the wrong he surely must have done. My duty is the core of who I am, a burden thou, my queen, must understand, for thine is wisdom as in legends heard. Establish next a common sentiment, and top it with a lavish but an honest compliment. We've time, for time to us but slowly slips. We'll not forever speak with paper lips. Confusion may help occupy a mind that otherwise has darker thoughts to find. Allow me one more moon to tune my thought, that I might join thee of my wilfulness, and not from any fear thy words have bought. A plea for pity with a dash of guilt, to stall for time until defences can be built. I wait for thy response with anxiousness. Suggest she move not armies but a quill, as if there is a chance her answer might convince thee still. Thy partner in eternity, Spurion.
So brilliantly redone.
He hated it.
Oh, what rubbish dost thou dare confront me with? My feelings are not properly conveyed by this.
The feelings of a ruler matter not. A king must think of kingdom ere presenting a response. A man I counted wise once told me so.
And now you throw back at me what I know?
Dost thou wish wisdom from thy fool, or but a head to nod and nod and nod and nod, a slack-jawed mouth to drool and drool and drool? Enter Spurion, who lingers at the edge of the stage unseen.
I wish thy honest counsel at this tense and trying time.
I gave thee honest counsel, and thou seemed to wish it more in line with thine.
Thou'd have me flatter and play coy with her, as though I sought her sympathy? She oversteps herself, and must be put in place.
1,000 years her place has been as queen, a post not easy given up post-haste, and certainly not to a man's decree, for queens are taught to answer not to any soul alive.
The father handed her the roll, and so she owes it to obey his mind.
A roll that's freely given is a gift, and gifts do not require recompense.
The problem is she too much loves to rule.
The problem is thou listen not to thy unruly fool.
What dost thou offer me?
Diplomacy.
Ironically, this was the word which set him off most splendidly. Begone, thou wretched fool! Thou vex me beyond limit of thy leash.
If thou would wish a leashed fool with knees that easy bend, then find a different one. The fool, howe'er, shall hold the other end. And then with that I turned upon my heel to leave. He does, then stops. My master, though, did block the way in front of me. No, this is all wrong. Didst thou come to audition for the general's part? He's not so much a speaking character, though has a most uncommon arc. I came to speak with that same general who poorly plays my part, and too because it's here I hold my court.
It was the fool's idea, my king. I took no pleasure in the sport.
'Tis true, Thy fearsome general was bullied by my wit. His strategy and fortitude had no defence for it.
Well, since I find thee, Phineas, I hope to make amends.
To mend my motley might require many spools of thread.
I offer thee a temporary patch instead, for any hasty words I might have said.
Well, let us hope it does not come out in the wash.
If ever I do choose to wash again. In retrospect, thy job was bravely done. Thou played a proper Aristarch as thou felt there was need for one. I keep thee to maintain humility, for if I cannot tolerate an idiot, I am not fit to lead.
Since thou dost grovel so, I shall accept thy patch, my king.
The points thou made I might have heeded more, I think. My spies report a mighty force from Elrith does assemble presently, armed heavily with weapons and equipment as preparing for a siege.
What should we do, my liege?
Thy general requests thou school him in the arts of war. I tried to tell him that he was an actor at the core.
I'm not so sure, though I but caught the reenactment's end. My voice is not so deep as that, my friend. Thy gesture, too, as thou dismissed the fool, was far too over-dramatized.
I shall endeavour to portray thee better, should the need arise. Ever. Most likely I'll be murdered horribly when Maghareen's approaching forces find us here.
Be not afeard, well-organized Rubio, for thou should never find the need to fight. 'Tis likely but a show of force to satisfy a leader's wounded pride. When they arrive, we shall arrange a meeting in the field beneath a flag of friendly truce. Then we shall properly persuade thy counterpart, one Cassius, who keeps a secret motive I cannot deduce, that we have penned a new response which shows a lighter mood, demanding he deliver it directly to Her Majesty, and thus delay impending doom. That is, if I can keep from roasting that infernal nitwit on the spot.
For all our sakes I beg that thou do not. Though I have no experience in cities under siege, I doubt his troops would take it as an outward act of peace.
Well counselled. My wise decision to appropriate him from his inn already pays us dividends. Now visit thee the armory, and find something that more suggests thy warlike art. The representative of an immortal king should look the part.
Your Majesty?
Bows awkwardly, unused to the motion. Exit Rubio. Phineas, my liege, I would appreciate if thou wouldst help to form a new response. Some lighter correspondence that suggests we may be willing to deliver what she wants. I live to serve, and serve to stay employed. I find this chamber oft makes me annoyed, so meet me at thy leisure in my library. My scrolls and tomes may serve to keep me calm. Phineas bows or curtsies mock seriously. I shall be right along, my humble king. This mortal interaction vexes me, and so I take my leave. Exit Spurion.
A general better suited to an inn, a king who'd rather read than rule. A nation's fate does rest upon a pen, and correspondence to a queen conducted by a fool. The enemy has no idea what lies in wait.
Exeunt.